It was clean-up hour. The last brass casings still rolled in the dust. The sound of rifle bags unzipping echoed off the concrete. Most of the instructors had moved on. A few candidates lingered, half interested in finishing their gear checks. She was sweeping. Plain gray hoodie. Canvas work pants. Gloves faded to the knuckle. No one looked twice. She moved quietly between the shooting stations, dragging the long-handled broom with practice rhythm. Not rushed, not slow. Just steady, her badge said. Facilities support. Most assumed she was a temp. Someone's aunt. Someone's favor. She didn't speak. Didn't meet eyes. One of the CO candidates, Morales, watched her from the third bench. Not because he was curious, just because she didn't move like the others. She was precise. Each sweep ended exactly at the line. Each time she paused, she rested the broom upright, hands folded gently at the handle, same way a shooter rests a sling between drills. Then it happened. A rifle had been left on the bench, unsecured, bolt halfway open, sling twisted. She picked it up, not carelessly, not like a janitor. She cleared the chamber, toggled the safety once, adjusted the strap until it lay flat against the stock, then laid it down with the muzzle forward, as if someone might pick it up mid-drill. Morales blinked. She didn't notice him watching, or if she did, she didn't care. She moved to the next station, picked up 2 brass rounds, and tucked them into a side pouch stitched so many times the thread had darkened into a pattern. No one said a word, just the sound of her boots moving across the grit. Not loud, but not unnoticed. By 1700, most of the candidates had checked out. Gear stowed. Targets reset. The instructors were gathered under the shade canopy, drinking warm Gatorade and comparing notes from the day's runs. She was still moving, now along the gravel behind the benches, dragging a flat magnet cart to sweep the steel splinters. Her gloves hung loose at the wrist, and she moved with the kind of quiet that makes noise seem unnecessary. Morales wasn't the only one watching now. Another candidate, Carter, the kind who wore his sunglasses even after the sun dipped, elbowed one of the guys beside him and nodded toward her. You think she even knows what those rifles do? The other chuckled. Probably thinks the charging handle's where you put a key. They laughed. Not loud, just enough. She paused at bench 5. There was a jammed casing under the mat. Instead of calling someone over, she crouched, one knee down, and removed it with a small metal tool from her pouch. Then she stood, in one motion. No groan. No hands on knees. Just a smooth rise, back straight, like muscle memory hadn't left her body yet. Carter raised an eyebrow. She's got form, he muttered, half joking. But Morales was still watching. She didn't wear a name tag, just facility, stitched on her left shoulder in block letters. But on her right forearm, just above the glove line, something showed. A scar, thin, pale, a perfect half-ring curve, like a sling burn, the kind only shooters got. And only when they trained in heat, over and over, day after day. She shifted, and it disappeared back under the sleeve. One of the instructors called it a day. Most of the guys moved toward the vehicles. She stayed, still sweeping, still not speaking. And Morales stayed too. He didn't know why yet. Just that something was wrong with the story they'd all assumed. And whatever it was, it didn't come with a salute. It came with silence. The next morning, she was already there before first light. The wind hadn't even picked up yet. She moved downrange alone, checking the base of each steel target with a wrench in one hand, a worn tool bag slung crossbody. One of the bolts had stripped yesterday. She replaced it without being asked. By 0700, the candidates were stretching, gearing up for their first relay. Morales noticed she chalked new yardage lines across the concrete, clean, straight, exactly on measure. No one thanked her. By 0900, the joke started again. Carter spotted her lifting an ammo crate and called out across the lot. Hey, ma'am! Careful with that. Wouldn't want you to pull something before retirement. A few laughed. She didn't look up. She just set the crate on the bench, adjusted its position by a finger's width, and walked away. Carter wasn't finished. She even cleared for base access? I mean, anybody could throw on gloves and play range rat. Still nothing from her. But Morales turned toward him. Leave it, Carter squinted. You serious? Morales didn't repeat himself. The instructors nearby didn't say anything. They were watching too now, not openly, not close. Just aware. Something about the way she moved, how she always placed things exactly, never twice the same, but never wrong. Then it happened. Midday. A rifle jammed during the timed cycle. The shooter panicked, flipped it wrong. The bolt stuck. Range was called cold. She was the first to move. Not the instructors, not the shooter. Her. She stepped forward calmly, gloves off now, hair tied back, and took the rifle with both hands like it was second nature. She worked the bolt once, cleared the round, and locked it open. Then she handed it back without a word. The instructor beside her didn't speak either. But something passed between them. A look, familiarity. He stepped back, and whispered, just loud enough for Morales to catch it. That's not just a janitor. After that, the air didn't quite go back to normal. The joke stopped. The glances sharpened. And Morales started looking for answers. Not out of suspicion. Out of respect. Morales stayed late that night. Not for duty. Just instinct. She was still there, stacking targets along the concrete wall. The sky had gone orange, and most of the others were already back in the barracks. Even Carter had left without saying anything. She moved slow, deliberate. Same rhythm, same silence. He didn't mean to approach her. But something pulled him across the gravel. Not curiosity, not even respect. Recognition. She paused when she saw him, but didn't speak. Need a hand? He asked. She shook her head once. You're off duty. He hesitated. Then pointed toward her bag, resting on the bench. That yours? She glanced over. Yeah. Mind if I ask something? She didn't answer. Just waited. That thing you did with the bolt earlier. That wasn't basic. Silence. You trained somewhere. Still nothing. He took a small step back. Not in retreat, in understanding. People laugh when they don't know what they're looking at. She didn't smile. But her voice came low this time. Dry. Measured. They stopped laughing, didn't they? He nodded. Then glanced at the bag again. The outer pocket had been left slightly open. Not carelessly, just enough. Inside, he caught a glimpse of something. A photo. Faded black and white. 4 people. One woman, younger, but unmistakably her, kneeling beside a stacked rifle bag. The others wore seal tridents on their chest rigs. No names. But one of them, he recognized. It was Captain Ibarra, current base commander. Morales stepped back again, quieter now. She zipped the pocket closed with one clean pull, then looked him in the eye. Some of us trained others, she said. Some just held the rifle longer. He didn't speak after that. Didn't need to. He just nodded once, then left her to the silence she never seemed to mind. It happened the next morning. The sun had barely cleared the hilltops when a black SUV pulled up near the control tower. No warning, no schedule. The kind of arrival that said nothing, but meant everything. Captain Ibarra stepped out. Morales had never seen him visit the range this early. Word spread fast. Instructors straightened their stances, candidates tucked their shirts. She was already there, of course, in the same hoodie, same gloves, pulling the magnet cart along the gravel near the benches. Ibarra paused when he saw her, just for a second. Then he walked across the open field, slowly, methodically, eyes never leaving her. She didn't turn to meet him, not until he was close. Then she stood still. No salute, no report, just stillness. Ibarra stopped 2 feet away. You're not supposed to be here. She didn't blink. I know. He looked at the ground, then at her hands, still wrapped in the same gray gloves. I thought you were out. I was. A pause. Not tension, memory. You trained our Tier 2 shooter squad in Jordan. You zeroed their optics after everyone else failed the calibration. She nodded once. You briefed my team on crosswind hold corrections the day before Fallujah. Another nod. You disappeared after that. I wasn't needed anymore. Ibarra exhaled, the kind of breath that carries weight no one talks about. He looked around, saw Morales standing in the distance, then turned back to her. What are you doing here? She glanced at the benches, then at the steel downrange. Just watching, she said. Seeing if they're ready. Ibarra's voice softened. They laughed at you? A few. And? They stopped. Ibarra stood still. Then, without speaking, he reached into his jacket, pulled out a coin. Thin, gold-edged. No unit name, just a number etched across the center. And 72. He held it out to her. She looked at it. Didn't take it. So he set it gently on the bench beside her. You were never a janitor, he said. No, she said. But someone needed to sweep up. He nodded once, then turned, and left without another word. The instructors watched him go. No one asked questions. The only thing left behind was the coin on the bench. Still, waiting. Word spread fast. Not officially. No memo, no announcement. But by midday, something had shifted on the range. The instructors spoke in shorter bursts. The candidates carried their rifles with more care. Even Carter, the loudest one, moved differently, like his boots had learned how to listen. The coin still sat on the bench where Ibarra had placed it. No one touched it. No one asked? But every man who passed glanced at it once, and then glanced at her. She didn't act like anything had changed. She still wiped the tables, still moved brass into the collection buckets, still adjusted target lines with a tape measure and chalk. But now, every motion felt amplified. Not louder, just clearer. When she reset the barricade stations for the 400-yard drills, no one offered to help. Not out of dismissal, out of respect. Like they knew their hands would only slow her down. And when Morales took the prone position during his final qualifying run, she was the one who adjusted his elbow before the timer started. She said only 2 words. Lower, tighter, then stepped back. He fired a clean run. The instructor raised his brows, whistled low. That's a 10-ring series. Morales stood, glanced back at her. But she was already walking toward the brass pile, quiet, broom in hand. Later that evening, Morales saw Carter sitting on the edge of the platform. No jokes. Just staring out toward the steel. After a while, he spoke, voice low. She trained shooters in Fallujah? Looks that way. Carter nodded once. I thought she was just, you know. Morales didn't answer. They sat in silence for a long time. Just before sundown, she gathered her tools and walked toward the far shed. On the bench where the coin had been, something else sat now. A cloth rag, folded perfectly. On top of it, a single spent casing, fired, polished clean, with a small piece of white tape wrapped around its neck. One number written on it. 200. Nobody knew what it meant. But no one moved it. They just left it where it was. She was gone. No warning. No send-off. Just gone. The sun rose without her. The magnet cart was parked untouched. The tape lines were still sharp across the concrete, but no new chalk marks had been added. Morales noticed that first. She always repainted them every 2 days, without fail. Walker did a quiet lap around the perimeter. Checked the tool shed. Checked the brass buckets. Nothing moved. He didn't ask the admin office. He didn't call it in. Somehow, they all knew not to. At 0615, Morales walked over to the bench, her bench, and saw the sling. Black, folded in thirds, tied with one rubber band dried and cracking. Next to it sat the same cloth wrap, still creased from where it had held the rifle part days before. And resting on top, untouched, was the spent casing. The white tape still circled the neck, the number still clear. 200. But there was something new now. A strip of paper, tucked just under the sling. He pulled it free gently. No name. No unit. Just a few lines, written in small, block handwriting. Don't wait for recognition. Adjust wind. Breathe out. Leave before the noise returns. Morales read it twice, then folded it, slowly, and slid it back where he found it. He sat down on the bench, elbows on his knees, same posture she used. Let the wind hit his face. Walker came up behind him, hands in his pockets. She's not coming back, he said softly. Morales nodded. I know. A long pause. Walker looked down at the sling, then out at the steel targets, still standing in the sun. I trained with people like her once, he said. They taught more by standing still than by talking. Morales didn't answer, just listened. Hardest thing, Walker added, is knowing when to leave something good without asking for anything. They stood there for a while, not as instructor and candidate, just 2 men who had witnessed something they couldn't explain with rank. By midday, no one had sat on the bench, but every man who passed it slowed. Even Carter. He didn't speak, just tipped his head once, barely noticeable, then walked on quieter than usual. No orders had changed, no briefing had mentioned her, but the range had shifted, and no one needed to say why. The next morning, she didn't show up. No broom, no bench, no duffel bag leaning against the barricade wall. The air was cooler than usual. Still, the kind of stillness that doesn't just come from weather, the kind that comes when something is missing, and no one knows how to say it. Morales noticed first. He walked past the control tower, looked toward the usual spot behind bench 6. Nothing. then past the shade canopy, where the magnet cart usually rested. Empty. He didn't ask the instructors, didn't need to. He just walked over to the bench where the coin had been. Now there was only the cloth rag, still folded. The spent casing on top, unmoved. But next to it was something new. A sling. Black, frayed, folded twice, tied in the middle with a single rubber band. No markings, no label. Except one. Stamped on the inside edge, in faint ink, D9, range 12. One of the instructors approached. Walker, quiet, older, never wasted words. He looked down at the sling, then at Morales. She's gone? Morales nodded. Walker didn't ask where. Didn't wonder why. He just looked out toward the steel targets. They were still up, clean. The bolts on each one had already been tightened. The gravel swept. Someone had worked the range before sunrise. Morales looked back at the bench. He sat. Slowly. Same posture she used. Arms resting on his thighs, hands together, eyes forward. He didn't say a word. Didn't fidget. Didn't check his watch. Another candidate passed, saw him sitting like that, and paused. Then moved on, a little quieter. Walker turned away. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. From now on, no one would call that bench just a place to rest. It meant something else now. No plaque. No picture. Just a space that held silence the way a range holds wind.